This is Conversations with Paycheck and Red, a weekly podcast with two good old boys talking about anything and everything that crosses their mind. You may not know what you're going to get with an episode of Paycheck and Red, but you sure know you don't want to miss it. So do what you got to do. Download the app, find the episodes online, and make sure that you don't miss 1 second of Conversations with Paycheck and Red.
Yo, what's up? What's up? We're back. Another podcast. Conversations with Paycheck and Red. This is your boy Paycheck. Let's say what's up, Red.
What's going on, party people?
Today's podcast is titled Stay in Your Lane.
Wait. This ain't a damn angry trucker episode, is it?
No, but I could go there. It's been one of those.
What you mean stay in your lane? Like, are you going to be yelling at me and telling me to get off my phone and pay attention to the fucking road or what?
Well, that depends on if you stay in your lane or not.
I stay in my lane. I'm a professional. I'm a professional texting driver.
Yeah. Stay in your lane means at your house. You know, I've had some heated conversations with my wife and have been told several times to stay in my lane. So I guess what that means.
What you mean? What you mean? Stay in your lane. Explain.
Yeah. So society kind of dictated that a man has a job at home and a woman has her job at home. But because we're not living in the 50s anymore, those lines have kind of blended a little bit. I cook, I clean, you know what I mean? The wife, she likes working on cars. So it's, you have to find that happy medium, you know, that everybody is happy with. And a good example, which is, one of the reasons why this topic came up is I know that there are things at my house that my wife would just prefer me not to do. And she has often said, whoa, stay in your lane. You know, and one is like loading the dishwasher. I'm a guy. I don't give a shit how the plates are stacked in there. I don't give a shit about how the glasses are stacked in there. You know, so my wife would prefer me not to load the dishwasher. So she tells me, stay in your lane. And I prefer her not to do any yard work. I don't want her out there mowing grass. That's what I do. So I tell her to stay in her lane. So this brings up a good topic and, you know, some questions. Do you stay in your lane at your house? Do you guys have an agreement? You know, if you're married or if you're living girlfriend, or even if you're that grown-ass man living with your parents, living in the fucking basement playing video games, I imagine you still have a lane that your parents prefer you to stay in. So, do you know your lane at your house?
Man, there ain't no lanes at my house. We all share the responsibilities equally.
So you do dishes, you do laundry, you cook, you sew buttons, you hem pants, you do yard work, all that?
Yes, sir.
Pussy. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, not necessarily hemming pants and shit now, because, you know, we don't wear pants that need hemmed in my house. We always buy pants that fit. But anyway, my wife feels that our household is one unit. We all share responsibilities. Now, my kids have chores, but they all share chores. There's no, you know, one's got one chore, one's got another chore, one's got another chore. They all share the chores, just like me and my wife do. If she's working late, if I'm off one day, I I catch the laundry up. If there's a little sink full of dishes to do, I'll do them. Now, if my kids are at home and me and the wife aren't home, the kids pick up that stuff. So no, there's no lane in my house. We all share those responsibilities equally, and it works out just fine. Now, that being said, I don't like my wife to do yard work. I take enjoyment out of doing yard work. It's kind of like a nerve pill for me, a winding down period. I enjoy yard work by myself. Now, planting flowers, fixing up the flower beds, the wife likes to get involved with that because she picks the flowers out. But cutting grass, trimming hedges, that kind of shit, that's my job. But
Y'all plant tulips?
Huh?
Y'all plant tulips?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's come over here and plant tulips on my cack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, there's no lane in my house. We all share that equally, man. I mean, if I was to say, get your ass in the kitchen and cook me dinner or whatever, my wife would freak the fuck out.
Yeah, but I don't mean, know your lane in a barbaric sense. I mean, like, does your wife change the oil on your vehicles?
No, that's me.
Okay, so she knows that.
Right.
And you know that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know your lane. She knows hers.
I mean, but see, that's the thing. Your old lady changes the oil in her car.
No.
That's what you just said.
Can. Yeah, she can, and she has until I met her, and then it caused some, not conflict, but and this is why this topic is interesting to me, because and I hate to keep saying it, but it's a cultural thing. I'm Southern. I'm old fashioned a little bit. Kind of what you said about the yard work. I was raised thinking that there were jobs in the house that were the man's job, and there were jobs in the house that were the woman's job. And I know that's sexist and old fashioned. I don't make any excuses for it. It is what it is. It's how I was raised. Now, with that being said, we kind of live our lives the same way, you described, you and your wife. We help each other out, and if one gets home before the other, and ends around the house, or if she gets home before I do, she'll do the little odds and ends around the house. But here's where it gets interesting, is that, so because I'm Southern and because I'm old fashioned, and these are the thoughts and ideas that I grew up with. Is it right? Is it something that is changed as along with the progression of life? Because we all grow, we all have say that word for me. Ideologies. Yeah. So, but if we're smart and if we're critical thinkers, then that shit could change throughout the years, and it has for me, to a certain extent. But getting back to the original thing about the change in oil, when I first met my wife, she was a single, independent woman. She had her own place. She had her own car, own job, her own money. She did all the maintenance on her vehicle. She did all her yard work. She pretty much did everything. So when her and I got together, she would still desire to do all those things. So much so to where I had to run her off of a few projects that I was in. One of them in particular was changing an alternator. So she says, my alternator's bad. So I bow my chest out. No problem. I got that. I can do that. So I go out there and I play with it, and I get the bolts loose. I get the belt off, and I can't get the damn alternator out. So she comes out there and tells me that we have to move the whole motor to get the alternator out. Now, Wayne, if I told you that you have to move the whole motor to get the damn alternator out, you'd look at me like I was stupid, wouldn't you?
In some cases, yeah, but I have changed alternators where the half the motor had to come out to get to it. Yeah, but I would look at, but I mean, for the question, yeah, I would look at you like you were fucking stupid.
Well, that's how I looked at my wife. And sure enough, the end result was I had to remove two or loosen up the bolts on two motor mounts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remove the bolts, stick a 2x4 in the motor, and pull it to move the motor, and the alternator fell out.
How dumb did you feel, though? Did it make you feel less of a man or more of a man or what?
No, but it was a learning experience, you know, for the simple fact that it changed my mindset on that particular topic. As far as, I mean, the reality of it is that it's her car. She knows her car. She's had it for some years, you know, and I just I didn't know my lane. You know?
Yeah. Now, I mean, but me and you come from similar backgrounds. We've already established that through previous episodes. But before I got married, my train of thought was the wife cooks dinner, the wife cleans the kitchen, the wife does the grocery shopping, the wife takes care of the kids, and so on and so forth. The husband works, he goes to work, he makes the money. He cuts the grass. He trims the hedges. He snow shovels the driveway, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So when I met my wife, that's how I thought. For lack of a better term, a woman's place is in the kitchen. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's. So when I got married, my wife didn't think like that. She was like, I have a habit of saying, "Hey, babe, what's for dinner tonight?" "I don't know. What you cooking?" I was like, "What?" "I'm not cooking shit. What are you cooking?" You know what I mean? So over the years, it's just become a thing that we do. You know what I mean? A compromise, so I don't have to listen to the bickering back and forth and all that. I just came to accept the fact that we share responsibilities, and over the years I've learned that it works well, you know, because at one time I was a stay-at-home dad and I cleaned the house, I washed the dishes, I washed the clothes, I took the kids to practice, I took them to school, I picked them up, you know what I mean? So that was a real eye-opening experience for me in this whole entire stay in your lane shit, because I was in my own lane all by myself, because all she done was work, go to school, and all that kind of shit. So I kind of had an eye-opening experience, and you know, over the years, like I say, it's become a thing that we do, and it works. And there's probably not going to be any changing it, because it's just the way it is. You know what I mean? So, but when I go outside and I crank up my lawnmower, I'm in my own element. That's me.
So to be clear,
nobody's allowed outside to work in the yard but me. You know what I'm saying? But you know.
Well, I've written out a list of things that I do at the house and things that my wife does at the house. And as I'm making this list, I realize that this stay in your lane is really about perception and culture, you know. And so what I've realized that with making this list is that, and this is going to sting a little bit, so I hope it doesn't offend any females or offend anybody, but so in my opinion, what it kind of boils down to is knowing your spouse, knowing your partner, you know, and I lucked out in the simple fact that my wife and I were able to communicate a lot before we became quote unquote official. And I knew what I was getting into, and she knew what she was getting into. I know her background, where she came from. She knows mine, where I came from. And we kind of met in the middle and we compromised. And what I mean by that is that everything isn't split fairly here at my house. It's kind of split according to the old-fashioned way. So I'll give you a rundown on the list. I really don't do anything in the house. I mean, I take the trash.
Shame on you, Paycheck. Shame.
Yeah, but listen, here's where. So what if?
What if?
I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but. So let's say I'll reverse it to make it sound a little better. Let's say my wife makes a shit ton more money than I do.
Okay.
Because of that, I would want to do more in the house to kind of equal everything out a little bit. Okay, I'm not contributing as much as I'd like to financially, so allow me to contribute in other ways. Kind of the same thing you were talking about because I've been unemployed, and the wife would go to work and I'd do all the household chores, not because I felt guilty or I felt bad for not having a job or not being able to provide financially, but it was more about I've always compared my family, my household, to a village. So if you're not old enough to work or you don't have a job, then you have to participate in the family some other ways. Mm-hmm. So let me bring this around full circle. So let's say that I make a shit ton more money than my wife does. Mm-hmm. That could make her feel some kind of way, like, maybe she might make her feel bad that she's not contributing enough financially. Mm-hmm. So that's another stay in your lane deal. It's, and I believe my wife feels this way. So if I make a shit ton more money than her, she steps up and does more of the household stuff to kind of equal everything out. But my situation's a little weird because my wife is borderline OCD. There's a way to do everything. There's a place for everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not privy to all that information sometimes. Mm-hmm. So if I do load the dishwasher, well, here's a perfect example. Did you know that you're not supposed to wash your work clothes with her work clothes?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. I go through that same thing.
Uh-huh. Did not know that.
Well, here's the thing, though. When I used to change tires for a living a few years ago, and I would get grease, I would get anti-seize, all this kind of stuff all over my clothes, and I would smell like a car garage, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of took it upon myself to say, hey, I don't think my nasty ass clothes need to be mixed in with everybody's school clothes and work, because my wife is a RN, and she has an office position, and she's in a position of not power, but she's a boss, position of authority. So she wears nice clothes to work. I don't think that I'd be stupid if I put my greasy ass clothes in the washing machine with my kids' nice school clothes, her really nice work clothes. So I kind of made that decision on my own. So when I transferred from changing tires back to what I've always done, and that's residential house painting, it kind of just adopted into that. I mean, paint's not going to come off on anybody's clothes because it's already dried onto mine, but it's just the thing that I do just because you've always done it. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get where you're coming from. My wife's got a little touch of that OCD as well. But
yeah, I didn't get that memo.
I also have a little touch of it myself, but she more than I, but
Well, for me is in the house, and this opens up a wide variety of different topics. I mean, we can go down so many different roads with this topic. One road is some people, especially Southern women, are under the impression that, they do things in the house to show love. And a good example is, let's say, my wife cooks, she brings me my plate, she makes me, a glass of sweet tea, and she brings it all to me. And she does that because she wants to show me that she loves me. That's the nurturing part of a woman, you know what I mean? But then at the same time, I can do all that shit myself. You know what I mean? So it's and I know I'm going way off topic here, but the word love, if those, it's just a word, it really means nothing unless there's action behind it. You know what I mean? So somebody bringing me food or, washing my clothes, I mean, I appreciate it and everything, but that's not how I feel loved. You know what I mean? I've been washing my own clothes ever since I could reach the damn knobs on the washers and dryers. I've been cooking ever since I could reach the knobs on the stove and everything. You know what I mean? So I'm self-sufficient. I can sew, I can cook. So I can do all those things myself, but it's that whole, stay in your lane deal, like my wife takes her housework seriously. And, and it goes back to the whole, Southern old fashioned, I believe I'm the king of the house. I'm the king of my castle. She's the queen of the castle.
Yep.
And I treat her like a queen. So it sounds chauvinist at first, but I really want to stress that, yeah, I expect to be treated like a king, but my wife is treated like a queen. Like, she knows that she don't have to lift anything heavy. She don't have to open up any doors. She knows that when we go out, in public, she feels safe and secure. She feels safe and secure here at my house. And as a matter of fact, we opened up our house quite often to people who have fallen on some hard times, and sometimes that causes conflict. And I've had to tell this to quite a few people. My main job in my house is security. That's it. Anything else is extra. I'm security. And that sounds chauvinist, don't it?
A little bit.
But it's if I was with another woman who had a different mentality, I'm sure things would be different. This is just how it works in my house. You know what I mean? Like, I know my lane. She knows her lane. I don't go into her kitchen and start rearranging cabinets. She doesn't come out in my garage and start rearranging my tools and shit. You know what I mean?
Well, see, I think there's a fine line there, because, my wife doesn't have any business in my garage messing with my tools, messing with my lawnmower, messing with my four-wheelers and all my toys out here. She doesn't have any business in here because it's not hers. You know what I'm saying? So, wait, hold on a minute. But maybe they are hers because we purchased them together, so they're ours. But she's just not going to come out here and jump on my four-wheeler and crank it up and want to haul ass with it, because that's my side. You know what I mean? And I'm obviously not going to go in the kitchen and mess with shit like you talking about. But she has that right. She has that privilege to come out here and crank up anything that I have out here and take off with it if she sees fit to. And I also have the right and the privilege to go in the kitchen and cook and crank up anything in there that I choose to. So it just, and me and you come from similar backgrounds. We have the same mentality when it comes to shit like that. So, but again, your relationship with your wife and my relationship with my wife are similar, but they're also different. You know what I'm saying?
When it was different, it wasn't this way when I was with my ex-wife. It was more of the same way that you're talking about. She tried to be nice about this. She didn't really care about the cleaning, the dishes, the laundry. You know what I mean? That wasn't a priority for her. She was a career-minded woman. I mean, my current wife is also, but my wife now, she works and is career minded, but also takes pride in. Look, I know, all the things I've said up to this point may sound chauvinist and old fashioned, but the reality of it is that this is her house. It's just my garage and my yard. That's it. She gets to decorate that house however she wants to, as far as the decor, how she wants to. I don't give a shit about any of that. I've always said, as long as I can come home from work and sit down, I don't give a shit what the house looks like, as long as it's clean. You know what I mean? I said, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, are you multitasking right now in the middle of our fucking podcast?
Sorta, kinda. I'm trying to be quiet. Didn't want to draw attention to myself, but yes, I kinda am.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm trying to have a safety meeting, Paycheck. I got kind of preoccupied. That's my bad.
Well, I mean, how hard is it? I mean, do you lack hand-eye coordination?
No, I just like the finesse.
Put it in it.
I just like the finesse a little bit. The getting ready part, I'm kind of partial to. So I kind of take my time and make love to it a little bit. That's my bad.
Well, getting back to the know your lane, as I said before, it's got many different roads we can take, and I'll take it a step further. I have to know my lane when it comes to my kids, and I've learned that the hard way.
Oh no.
No, what I mean by that is that as my kids get older, I'm realizing that they don't need dad to show up like a knight in shining armor and save the day. Like here's a good example. Let's say that now this hasn't happened. This is purely an example.
Okay.
But let's say that one of my daughters got caught up in a verbal assault on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I know that at no time am I allowed to go onto her Facebook and be that protective dad and start cussing people out on her Facebook. That would be embarrassing to her, right?
Yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's happened in my house before.
Yeah.
With my
Did you get in trouble?
With my oldest. Well, she was kind of being attacked personally, so it wasn't like she was swapping words with nobody, and it was somebody that I knew really, really well, right? And she had an opinion on something, and they didn't agree with it because of their religious beliefs. Okay, so Marley was handling it perfect. She was being a grown-up about it. She wasn't getting out of the way. And all I done was reinforced her right to have her own belief. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't being the knight in shining armor coming to rescue my daughter from the bad guys. I was just solidifying her process of growing up and realizing there's more than one way to look at something. You know what I'm saying? And bringing that to light to the person that I was talking to. So there's a fine line here, Paycheck, in this know your lane, stay in your lane thing that we're talking about here. So I'm my kid's father, right? And it's my job to make sure that nothing happens to them, whether it be out in the world, whether it be on the internet, wherever. But I'm not going to, just like you said, though, I'm not going to go up there anywhere and show my ass because that's embarrassing. But I will make my place and let it be known that she has the right, or my kids have a right to an opinion and a belief, and they also have the right to say whatever the hell they want to say. You know what I'm saying? So, and be who they want to be. So there's a fine line in this lane because I want to be, you want to be the protector, as far as the children go, or as far as the family goes, you want to be the protector, and you want to be that knight in shining armor and that just, grade A American person, a man. You know what I mean? So, but then, you know, I'm trying to say, it's give and take. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I think it's pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, and that's with the wife and the lanes, and that's with the kids and their lanes. It's picking and choosing any of it.
Well, when we talk about staying in your lane, I believe that in just about all aspects of life, there has to be someone held accountable. There has to be someone held responsible. There has to be the supervisor. There has to be the leader. There has to be somebody that takes the fall if shit don't go right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've always taken that on my back.
Yep.
You know, just it's worked out. But I can definitely say that how I interact with my wife would not be done the same way with my ex-wife.
I can't comment on that because I don't have an ex-wife. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, take it. We can take it this a little bit further in some of the stuff that we were taught as far as some of the things that our ideologies as far as, you know, and we touched on it. I believe it was our first podcast about, you know, being a man. Mm-hmm. You know, what is the man's job? You know what I mean? Right. So it's really about, you know, the relationship between the two people, and now I don't want to say an agreement, but you know, there is some sort of agreement, you know, in the beginning of a relationship. Hey, this is how I roll. Okay, this is how I roll. Okay, well, so I'm cool with that. Okay, you're cool with that. All right, it's a done deal. That's kind of how it happened with my relationship, and that's how I know what lane that I need to stay in, is through, you know, communicating about things like this.
Okay, all right. We've touched on stay in your lane. Marriage edition. We've covered stay in your lane. Kids. So there's only one more topic to dive into on the stay in your lane, and that's in the bedroom, Paycheck. Do you know your lane you know your lane in the bedroom?
I'm not sure. I mean,
I'm not sure.
How many lanes are there in the bedroom?
Well, there's two lanes. There's coming and a going, just like everything else we talked about. And I use that pun very, very lightly. So,
so stay in my lane in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Well,
without getting too personal here, is there anything in the bedroom that you are allowed and not allowed to do?
Oh, no. We don't create rules and regulations in the bedroom.
So it's just a free for all. Whatever happens.
Well, I mean, it used to be that way, but we're getting old, I guess.
Right.
But our work schedules also play a big part in that. You know, and a perfect example was last night and this morning. So on some days, I've got to be in a different state, maybe in a different city, you know, and this morning I had to be in Lake Alfred, Florida, and I live in Jacksonville. That's a good 3.5 hour drive. And I had to be there at 5:00. So that means that I have to be in the truck driving at 2:00. So that means that I have to be up. I have to wake up at 1:00, 1:00 in the morning in order to be, you know, get up, take a shower, get some coffee, whatever, and be in the truck rolling by 2 a.m. So that means that I have to be in bed by 8 p.m. So that causes some, not conflict, but, yeah, I mean, not everybody wants to go to bed at fucking 8:00 at night.
Right.
But you know, wow, this just hit me, but this goes back to the staying in your lane. it doesn't matter what time I go to bed. My wife always goes to bed with me.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Always. Yep.
If I have to be in bed by 6:30 in order to be up by 12, then she'll be in bed with me at 6:30 at night. That's just something that we do, and I say that's a part of this staying in your lane because, in my opinion, that's one of the keys to a successful marriage is to go to bed together. Because here's why. Here's what I've learned. If one person is staying up and the other person is not, one of those people may be subjected to some behavior that is not really tolerable in a marriage. You feel me? You understand where I'm going with this?
I smell what you're stepping in, Paycheck.
Yeah, so I mean it's and not just that, but it's I think it's one of the key ingredients for a successful marriage. I mean that's just my personal opinion.
Right.
We go to bed together. We eat together, and that's another thing about staying in your lane is that my wife will stay in her lane no matter what I say. And like a good example is that because I'm a truck driver, and if I get a flat tire, I might not make it home till 9:00 at night. So I would tell her, go ahead and eat. Please do not wait for me to get home to eat dinner because it'll be like 9:00. So what do you think I walk into when I get home?
Probably 2 plates fixed on the table, ready to eat for both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now there,
and it's aggravating, but I get it at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right. There's times that we go to bed without one another. My wife, like I told you before, my wife's a nurse and she's in a position of authority. So there's sometimes that she has to stay up and wait for nurses that are on call to check in with her and all that kind of shit. And sometimes I have to be up early. I go to bed earlier than she does. Then there's sometimes where she has to be up early for meetings and all that kind of shit. And I'm interested in a TV show or I'm doing, I'm working on some graphic stuff on the computer for somebody and I'm just not ready to go to bed yet. That doesn't mean that, we don't have a successful marriage because we do. I've been married for 18 years. So me and my wife have learned to cope with our feelings through bedtime and laying in the bed because me and my wife have a lot of our deeper conversations laying in the bed. So going to bed together is very, very important. I will agree with you on that. Because we've solved a lot of our marital problems and a lot of just everyday decision making laying in the bed together before we fall asleep.
Well, it's funny that you say that because think about that's probably, and I can only speak, on the male's perspective, but that's probably the place where I feel the most vulnerable is laying in bed with my wife.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. Yep.
Yeah, so I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, not that we're giving out, any kind of marriage counseling or whatever.
Right.
You make a good point. It's a lot of good, fruitful conversations can be had in bed, and I truly believe it's because that's where we as human beings, not just man or a woman, I think that's where we feel the most vulnerable.
And me and my wife have a rule, and we've had it since we took our vows, that we don't go to bed mad. I don't like to do that because it bleeds out into the next day, and it just creates tension and conflict when it doesn't need to be there. So anything.
Not just that, one of y'all might not wake up.
Right. And some of our most some of the most heartfelt things and some of the most terrible things have been said laying in the bed. But before I close my eyes and I go to sleep, we're on a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? Everything that we've ever argued about or had differences about have all been settled laying in the bed together. And me and my wife have a thing, and I can share this with you because it's not really, really personal, but it's just something that we do when we go to bed together at night. And if we haven't, my wife, she has rough days sometimes, and so do I. this week in particular, I've had a pretty rough week. But anyway, there's a thing that we do, like if we don't talk a lot through the day or in the evening or whatever, if she's working on the computer or something and we're just not having a lot of conversation, when I go get in the bed, if we can find one another's feet under the blanket and our 4 feet are kind of snuggling together, everything's okay. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like an unspoken thing that we do. We've done it since we first got married, and it's carried on over the last 10 years, and it seems to work. Because
if the feet touch, everything's fine. Everything's good.
Everything's good. Yep.
So if the feet touch, then
well, see if my two are scrambling around under the covers and trying to find hers, and hers are hiding from mine, then we got a problem. You know what I'm saying? But if mine are chasing hers and we meet and they're snuggling together, then we're good. And hers the same. I mean, she's done it to me as well, but I'm mostly the initiator with that ritual thing that we do most of the time. But it always seems to work out, man. And it's something that we've always done and we'll probably do to the day we die. It's just, you know, and when my kids were younger, we don't do it so much now, but we used to do this thing. We used to play at the dinner table called high and low. And we each went around the table. You know how you go around the table at Thanksgiving and say what you're thankful for, and then you say grace, and then you eat Thanksgiving dinner. Well, every night at dinner when my kids were younger, we had a game that we played called high low. And that was each person goes around the dinner table and they tell their high point of the day and their low point of the day. And we talk about it for a minute. And we let that person express their feelings about it. We talk about it, and then we move on to the next person. And that used to work a lot because my kids, my oldest one used to get picked on a lot, and hers were always, you know, her low point was always the worst. And we used to talk about it where she could express her feelings to us where she couldn't express them to anybody else. So it gets our feelings out in the open, and that also makes us vulnerable as far as listening to what each other has to say and how their day went. You know what I mean? That opens up, you know, avenues of conversation that don't normally get had amongst families at the dinner table. Because growing up, to me, the dinner table was a sacred place, you know. So that game we used to play, and we kind of grew out of it. The kids got older; they didn't want to play anymore. You know what I mean? And every now and then, we'd be sitting at the dinner table sometimes, and I'll just yell out "hello," and somebody will start, and it just, you know, we go around the table. But it doesn't happen every night anymore. Just every now and then when I yell it out at the dinner table, but.
We do something similar to that, but we call it freedom.
Communication is key, and it goes to staying in your lane, communicating what lane you're supposed to be in with the other person. You know what I mean? Whether it be your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, because there's a stay in your lane. There's a lane to be had at work too. So
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? There's all kind of lanes to go down during this episode. There's lanes, like I say, lanes for your marriage, lanes for your kids, lanes for work. Staying in your lane is pretty damn important now that we're talking about it. You know, you brought it up when we were discussing what our next episode was going to be, and I didn't really think this was going to be a super important episode, just something we go over and talk about and, you know, just chalk it up to another episode. But this has actually became a pretty damn important episode, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, because I think if everybody knows their lane and they're capable of staying in their lane, I think that creates the balance that's necessary in a household. But getting back to your little game, we kind of did the same thing, but we called it free day. And the reason we called it free day is because I wanted to allow them an opportunity to check me as a parent. If needed, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the free day was, this is a time in which you will not be held in contempt, if you will, for anything that you say at this table. If I've done something to wrong you, feel free to say it. If anybody in the family has done something wrong to you, this is the place to get it out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
But it trickled down to, kind of the same deal y'all were doing. We would talk about our day or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because when I created the free day, the first couple nights, there was kind of, shrugging the shoulders and I don't know, but it slowly turned into a big open avenue of communication. You know what I mean? They felt comfortable because some kids, you can tell them all day long, talk to me. I want you to be able to talk to me about everything.
Oh yeah.
Kids, especially as they get older, and they get into those teenage years, they become a little more of a recluse. They keep a lot of that stuff buried. You know what I mean? They don't really talk about it. They might talk to their best friend about it or whatever, but certainly not parents. You know what I mean? What do we know?
Yeah, communication. This whole episode was based on staying in your lane, but part of staying in your lane, I said it a while ago, is that communication.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no avenues of communication, you don't know what damn lane to be in, and that causes conflict. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right, because that was ultimately the reason for the demise of my previous marriage. We didn't know what lane we were supposed to be in, and I grew up, my dad, was the head of the household. He denies that and gives me the whole, no, that's just what you saw, but that's not really how it was. It was really 50-50. But as a young male watching his parents coexist, that was the impression that I got. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hate to cut this one short, but it's we're actually at the 45-minute mark, and your boy Paycheck, he drops loads all over America, so I got an early morning.
Time for Paycheck to go night, huh?
Yeah. Well, tell them where they can find us. Tell them all that good stuff. Share.
If they're listening to the podcast, they know. Check us out on Facebook. Conversations with I can't even talk tonight. Conversations with Paycheck and Red. We are on Instagram. Paycheck and Red _podcast. We also have an email for questions, comments, concerns, podcast ideas, that kind of shit. It is paycheckandred@yahoo.com.
Yeah, stop being little bitches and not commenting and not participating. If you want to get on social media and call us a bunch of dicks, I'd be happy to see it.
Well, they're probably not going to comment that you called them dicks. Way to go.
Well, I want them to comment. Make suggestions, get involved, help us out.
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Subscribe. Yeah, we don't do the YouTube right now, but it's probably coming in the future. But yeah, we are on social media. We each have our own Facebook page. Look us up.
Let me just say this before we close. What I meant to say, as opposed to calling y'all a bunch of dicks, is that we want to talk about important shit that is not being talked about enough. We got a lot of fucked up things going on in the world, right, and they need to be addressed. So if you have an idea in mind, or if you're noticing some fucked up shit in this world and you want to talk about it, then get on social media, get on our social media sites, make comments, make suggestions, bring up topics, share your favorite meme, and we'll talk about that shit. Mm-hmm. So get on there. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Interaction. We're doing this for y'all. We like to talk shit. We like to talk shit to one another. We just figured we'd record it and let y'all hear it. So we want to hear from y'all. So, social media and stuff. Paycheck and Red.
Get on it.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Love you.
Love you too, brother.
All right, later.
Later.